photocopies of anything?
I think they're not sure. 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe 10 more. I don't know if anybody's gonna stroll in later. I don't know.
Is that two-sided?
Okay, so you need to give that side little stickies and more paper. Oh, you're giving out the stickies?
I didn't.
Okay, give these folks the stickies.
This is not the ideal place to be writing.
Right.
They're all in chairs without any desks.
I don't know how many people are gonna try to go off the
Okay, you're okay so far.
I'd like to try and focus on the grants.
Okay, I don't think this should be right next to the mic. It makes it up a lot.
First. Time
This should be right next to the mic.
used
Yeah,
to
they
anything
put it
right
on the
about.
grant, on Grant Avenue.
Yes, but my phone's not that great. I'll take photos,
Oh,
but
okay, then.
they get denied usually.
email or
Yeah. Every photo I've taken, the last 3.
Oh, you mean like from, what did I just do with my glasses? Here
lines. The ones that you wear?
My name's Erlea.
they are.
Erlea.
You know what we can do? Maybe, Chris, as people come in, give them this. Or, here, sir, can you take one of this? And take one of this. Sit by the door. Give it. For now.
You need the paper and pencils over there?
Yeah. Oh, maybe Erlea can do it, actually, because Chris is my other note.
Chris is the
How's
bouncer.
that? You
make
sit
it
by
more.
the door. You
He's
sit
the
by the
bouncer?
door, and Chris will do it.
I got Roger making more copies.
Thank you. We're happy that there's lots of people.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming.
Hold on to this for now, and I will have you put it up and give him a chair. Chris, here you go. You can sit here. And then later.
Yes.
Okay, I think we're good. Whose is that?
That's mine.
Okay, there you go. Don't spill on my laptop though. Yeah.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Johnson. I'm the manager of the bike and pedestrian team and programs over at Easy Ride. Easy Ride, it's a company located in Wood Ridge, a transportation company located in Wood Ridge, so it's only 10 miles away. Easy Ride is Bergen County's and the borough here contact for the Safe Routes to School program. So Safe Routes to School program, Street Smart New Jersey program, etc. I'm here tonight with a couple other staff people, and if you want to raise your hand, that's Erlea at the door, our bouncer. Chris right over here. And my supervisor, Lisa, who's walking around. And again, I'm Mike Johnson. And why we're here tonight is for the following. Okay. Why we're here. Back in October, I think October 30th of last year, Easy Ride got together and started and formed a collaboration with the borough to focus on and implement a Street Smart campaign. A Street Smart campaign is the following, if you see above there too. Using a Street Smart campaign, what we do is the municipality has a focus area, a focused intersection, an area within their town, borough, township, etc., that there's been an issue with maybe high traffic volume, high risk of crashes, pedestrian volume, etc. So the borough was looking to focus on a campaign focusing on an intersection, Oradell Avenue and Grant Avenue. So if you've been to Oradell Avenue, you may have seen some signage. You may have seen some signage about that. And we were the ones that were there also, too. So for the campaign, we want to focus on that. So this evening, while we're here tonight, is the following. We like to gather input because we're in the process of developing a report for the campaign, which will be completed by end of the year, June, July. And it's okay.
Just highlighting the listening stuff.
Yeah, thank you. And so what we're doing is we like to gather input, feedback and input from the community representatives, community residents about that particular intersection. Experiences, feedback, etc. And that information there will be provided and entered into the report. Now, what we've done so far is, I'm sorry I don't have it, we've actually had a gentleman, Abdullah, raise your hand. Okay. He's in the back of the room there too. We've already gained some feedback from residents of Oradell. What Abdullah did, he created a survey and he distributed to the juniors and seniors at Riverdale High School. And from there, we got about 110 responses about a couple questions about on a scale of 1 to 5, experiences with the intersection, how long it takes to cross at the intersection, how familiar are you with the intersection. And then also Abdullah put information on the Oradell Facebook site, and we got 44 responses from that also too. And the responses are the following. I know from the Facebook, the social media post, there was 44 responses, and the responses were telling. For example, there was the one on scale of 1 to 5, 1 dangerous, 5 very safe, their feelings of safety at that intersection. And the average was about a 2, which came out to be below average. And those scales and those numbers were pretty much very similar to all the other questions as well, too. So it seems there's perception, high risk, not comfortable there at that intersection. And that's great gathering feedback from an informal way, but we like to get a formal way, have those questions addressed in face-to-face, get more feedback that way as well, too. So the goals of the meeting are the following: to gather more input from you about your experiences with that intersection, and then that's for us to relay in our report, which will be distributed then and given to the borough. So what we like to do, how many people are here right now? Maybe 20? Should we break up into groups or just have one overall session? Would you like to break up into groups, Lisa, or just have one overall session for people? Because I like to go over the questions that you're completing right now. Overall session with everybody here? Yes. Okay. All right. So let's get going then. So you have the questions there. So we're looking for feedback. For right now, and the question right there, you don't have to mention how long you've been a resident here. On a scale of 1 to 5, do you feel it's very unsafe to very safe, 1 to 5? And would anybody like to share their number 3 answer? Why did you select your response? What response did you address in number 2, and why? So did you say that? Remember, I just want to focus on the intersection now of Oradell and Grant. Time permitting, if we go over, we have time permitting, maybe more information on the entire Grant Avenue. But for now, just that particular intersection right now, we're looking for feedback on your perceptions, experiences, etc., on a scale of, yes.
Do you want it to say what they are, or do I have to say the scale?
Just on number 2, not safe, and briefly, why not safe? Why did you select that response for not safe?
Stop at the stop signs. They usually roll through. People are
Hey, Kristen.
People are on their phones. People have dogs.
Where is that? Where is that, ma'am?
People that are driving east on Oradell Ave, entering the intersection of Grant Ave. I live right there for 23 years. I know I don't have to say that, but I'm saying I see a lot. And people, they roll through the stop signs. They're on their phones. They have dogs in their laps. They're cursing at people for not moving fast enough. They are coming, the people that are driving east on Oradell Ave and want to make a left onto Grant Ave are rushed by people yelling at them to go, horns beeping behind them, and the fact that there's a lot of traffic, and over the years there just gets more and more traffic on those streets, and the fact that First Street has a sign up that for people that come from the Hallworth area, there's other towns up there too, but I'm not going to name them, and they're prohibited from making a right onto First Street 6 days a week from 7 in the morning till 7 p.m. at night. And First Street years ago got 2 street bumps or humps put on First Street. And recently, last fall, Second Street got 1 hump put on it. And that's fine, if you want to if you feel it's added protection and they can't speed then. And I had asked for years to have a hump put in front of my property somewhere lower down on Oradell Ave because people 3 times have driven into my house and hit my other things on my property because they have fallen asleep and there's nothing there to wake them up. But these are just some of the things that happen. And I just feel that if instead of putting a drastic thing in there to add open up First Street, see how it goes, see if it cuts down on accidents. Not everybody's going to go down there because you still have to stop at Oradell Ave, whether you come through on First Street, Second Street, or Third Street. There's 3 alternatives, and there's 4, including stay on Grant. So that's what I have to say, I think, about that for now.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
Eileen.
you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to share their feedback on that particular?
Yes, good evening. I'd like to mention how many years I've lived on Grant Avenue. I've lived in the same house right near that intersection for 46 years. So I've seen a lot through the years, and I would like to ditto what my neighbor has said. It's not safe. I would not cross that intersection at all. I'd cross in the middle of the street before I would cross that intersection, even though there's a crosswalk there, because she's very right on that people do not stop at the stop sign, rolling stops, etc. Many accidents have been there because they don't follow the rules. And I also mentioned that I didn't know that there were some private streets in Oradell in that special privileges have been given to some streets where cars cannot flow down those particular streets, which actually through the years since I've lived there for so long, I've seen traffic increase right after that has been done. And that actually adds to the problem at the intersection of Grant and Oradell, that extra traffic every single day. Cars beeping their horns. It's hard for me to get out of my driveway when everyone's back to back over there. Also, I'd like to mention that with the new sidewalks put in, they're a wonderful addition, but there are bike riders on those crosswalks. And not only regular bike riders, but also motorized bike riders on the sidewalks, and they cross right there near the intersection. They zoom by my house. Why should I have to get away from the sidewalk, or say I'm doing gardening, when I have the right of way, but no one would know that? One does not respect that. So I would definitely rate that intersection not safe.
Thank you very much. Additional feedback? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, guys. I'm Lauren, and I live on the corner of First and Grant. In terms of car safety, I agree with the past 2 comments. People do roll. People are impatient. People don't take turns, and that's why there are accidents there. In terms of increased car flow into First Street, well, I do understand that there is a sign coming from Haworth, going to south on Grant. You can't turn right onto First. Do people follow that? No, because I see it every single day. People still cut through, and again, First Street is another outlet to that current intersection that we're looking into. But I would say people aren't following it. People are still turning right. Like, people are using that to cut through because the congestion at Grant and Oradell is so unsafe. In terms of the sidewalks, I appreciate all the sidewalks on Grant, because now my kids could go from my house all the way to the park. And would I say, do I feel comfortable for when my kids get older to cross that intersection on their bike or just walk to the park on their own? Absolutely not. You know why? Because people aren't used to looking for pedestrians on that corner. I'm like scared to cross myself, and I have to make eye contact with the driver to make sure that they see me before I cross with my kids. And like, that should just be first nature for you're driving a car. Look out for your pedestrians. So that's first and foremost.
And I'm sorry, that when you're coming from Hayworth to Oradell, that right, you can make that right on First?
You can make that right on Sundays and after 7 p.m. I again, 7 to 7, sorry. Yes. And I came to the town in 2018, so I don't know when that sign was put up, but I appreciate it because that street is so tight, it's so narrow that it's not going to be able to handle that that traffic to and from on both sides. Cars are parked on the street. How
It's not narrow.
It's very narrow when there's cars parked on the side of the street. It is.
So people, I'm sorry. So people are following that, but not turning that way, or they're not. They are following.
Some people are following it. A lot of people aren't following it because I see it right in front of my house too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for putting this together today. So first of all, thank you for putting the pedestrian flashers at Hasbrook and Grant.
Oh, that's all him.
That's really helpful. I see a lot of people use it. I live on Merritt. I appreciate it because my kids can cross, get over to the park. I grew up in Demarest. I live in Oradell. This is a regional issue, right? Like, until you stop Northern Valley from cutting through Oradell, you're never going to displace this problem. Now, First Street, conveniently, when politicians live in that block, you had speed bumps, no right turns, and 7 to 7. I asked for the same treatment in Merritt because I have a very... we are very cut through on Merritt Drive, and we said no, and they told us no, that they couldn't actually put the no turn on, 7 to 7 on that street because it would just make the traffic go somewhere else. So I think to other people's point, if you want to have a break in traffic to alleviate the intersection of Grant and Oradell Avenue, you're going to have to either take that 7 to 7 sign down or alter the hours of it because you're telling one street there is no people that can drive down here, but they'll cut down other streets. The other issue of the area is that when Elm floods, New Milford Avenue floods, River Edge floods, it seems like Oradell Avenue is now the only thoroughfare through Bergen County to get either over the reservoir or over the Hackensack River. I live in Merritt. It'll take me 45 minutes to get from Merritt down to Kindercamack Road when there's a flood or a major event on that side of town, which is a safety issue. When the train stops in Haworth or in Bergenfield or in Dumont, they come down through Grant, do Merritt. So the whole area is just a problem. And I don't think that one intersection is a problem. I think the region is a problem. And until you figure something out, put another bridge across the reservoir, I don't know if you're going to stop it.
Because I'm not very familiar at all. So the flooding major issue, it happens quite often, or
at least yes.
Well, I know when it rains, but how often?
At least 4 times this year.
All right. So when the Oradell Reservoir breaches 24 feet, which I think the spillway is 23 feet, within hours you can look at the river gauge and it'll flood. At 8 feet, they'll have to close the road. Elm or New Milford Avenue. Well, River Edge also floods as well. You have, so if you look at the map, Oradell Avenue is the only bridge in Bergen County, basically from Teaneck all the way up to even Old Hook Road, where it's passable when it floods. So when you're talking about 10 inches of rain, 4 inches of rain, if the reservoir is full and we get 3 inches of rain or 4 inches of rain, it's going to flood. And it causes mayhem in the whole area. Let's see. So you have River Edge Road, you have Elm, New Milford Avenue. Even north of us, Old Hook Road, that floods too, over the reservoir. They're all coming down to us. Yes. Basically, if you look at a map and anything that crosses the Hackensack River from flooding on the reservoir, Oradell Avenue is the only bypass.
Yeah, thank you for that input too. Anybody else want to add on additional information?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sound good.
I have lived on Oradell Avenue near the intersection with Grant. I'm about 4 or 5 houses in from there for the better part of 27 years. I agree with the other women who spoke that the traffic has gotten worse in the time that I've lived there. I'm sure some of that is due to the addition of the sign on First Street, because that did obviously happen within the past 27 years. I concur with the gentleman in front of me about the flooding of the river and how all of the traffic is then funneled down Oradell Avenue, and the amount of time it takes to get from the east end of town over the river and past the train station, especially for folks in the morning who are trying to get their kids to OPS or over to the high school. The amount of accidents at the corner of Oradell Avenue and Grant is unbelievable. There was just a huge truck accident last week. And while I do agree with what the lady was saying about the people coming eastbound, and I assume your house is through that intersection, people are just blowing. Yes. I saw you've moved your driveway, exactly. The amount of people coming westbound that are driving recklessly is equally a problem. These are people who are coming, it doesn't matter whether they're coming northbound or southbound on Grant. When they turn onto Oradell Avenue and they see a stretch ahead of them with no lights, no stop signs, no speed bumps, nothing, they floor it. They speed down Oradell Avenue until they hit the railroad tracks or the bridge. I have suggested this in the past to the Oradell board, chief of police, that they position an officer on the corner on the northbound side of 3rd Street and Oradell Avenue. They would meet their ticket quota in about a week. I kid you not. I kid you not.
You said North 3rd?
On the north, if your 3rd Street runs north-south, Oradell runs east-west. If you position an officer on the north side of 3rd Street, because that's where they accelerate. When they get on Oradell Avenue, they floor it, and if they go past 3rd Street and they don't know there's a cop there, they're going to get hit. There's no doubt in my mind that they are exceeding the speed limit by at least 10 to 15 miles an hour.
On that area of Oradell, I've been through Oradell a few times. It's always been a lot of traffic. What time of days have you noticed that there's been no traffic and they can just start speeding, going really fast?
It's the late hours of night. It's late hours. So it's probably 11, 12, 1 o'clock. And early in the morning, too. I mean, look, when it gets congested is probably 7:30 through about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then it picks up again around 2 o'clock when the school pickups start. And then, of course, again at regular rush hour. So the downtimes, I would say, would be between 10 a and 2 p. That's just downtime in terms of daytime traffic. But downtime in terms of nighttime traffic, I would say after 11:30 at night until the wee hours of the morning. Yeah, Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. One other thing I think contributes to the traffic is that if you look at the traffic patterns, whenever there's a train and it blocks the intersection, all that traffic backs up from the train station down to Grant and around through Merritt and around into basically New Milford. And I see it every morning. I can time it. I go through Hasbrook just to avoid it. If you can move that train station when the trains are either south or north of Oradell Avenue, I don't care what it is, it's just not blocking the intersection, and you leave the intersection open, that, you know, if you look at New Milford Avenue, the train gates come up and down quick because the train just passes. If you can somehow shorten the time of when those gates are closed, I think it'll also help traffic move as well through the area. Because, and then also, I mean, I love the crossing guard over at at Maple, but again, he's stopping every other person that's walking individually versus waiting for groupings. So there's a lot of things that's contributing to the traffic on Oradell Avenue, but the train is a major part of it. Now, if they can only extend the platform south by 30 feet, I think the train won't block the intersection anymore. But
And a heavily used, I'm not familiar either, heavily used station, I guess, very heavily used?
Yes.
Station? Yeah.
Here's the one. We don't have New Jersey Transit. I'm writing down what you're saying.
What did she say? We don't have new.
We don't have New Jersey Transit. What she said, I don't
I mean, we don't have New Jersey Transit here.
Oh, right.
And that's not part of this
Well,
But we're writing it down and it will be in our report.
I live on Grant for about 15 years now, and I feel like you can't really. I know we really want to focus on that one intersection, but it just grows. It's just like it has tentacle. It's so dangerous. The speed limit on Grant Avenue is 25 miles an hour. They come around that bend from Hallworth doing like 60 miles an hour. I'm surprised more people don't crash into that pole. Well, I'm surprised it doesn't happen once a day. Well, it should. It's crazy. So they come flying around that bend, and then it's a straightaway. Like they feel like it's insane. I don't want to get morbid, but a landscaper ran my dog over, and didn't even know, and just kept going. That's how fast they were going. So I mean, it's a personal issue for me, yeah. But I'm saying it for the effect that is how fast people go. It is so frightening. I mean, before the sidewalks, it was horrendous. Now, and there, there's no safety. We can talk about all this stuff. It's volume. If you open one street, it's like water. It's just gonna find its way to that empty space. There has to be a solution for the traffic. But in the meantime, safety has to be number one. My kids are grown now, but when they were little, it was like there were no sidewalks, and it was panic. Like it's so bad there. And going up Oradell Ave, like you said, they fly. It's like a speedway. And once in a while I see a cop from Hallworth come around and pull someone over. If you sat at that bend at Hallworth, if you sat there, you wouldn't have to write another ticket for the rest of your life if you sat there for 10 minutes. I leave my house like a lunatic, and I'm screaming, slow down. If anyone's Ring camera, I'm like the crazy lady on Grant, because I can't believe how fast people go. Sorry. No, it's so bad. Like, and it just grows.
In those days when your kids were young, you didn't feel it was safe to allow them to walk on the sidewalks on Grant. You always drove them.
There was no sidewalk.
There was no sidewalk.
I had one in front of my house, and then it just died. There was no other sidewalk.
But now there are.
Yeah, they're all peeled up, and they have to be replaced because they've blistered and they're a mess. But thank you. They're still there, but they're going to fall apart. But yes, that's a whole separate meeting.
And
yeah.
You're saying the sidewalks on Grant are deteriorated?
Oh yeah, after less than a year.
Because like tree roots?
No, it's like however they laid the sidewalk. It's all blistery, like it's all gravelly now. All the concrete's just getting. Yeah, they have to be replaced.
Are you talking about
The new ones, yeah. It started like a month after. Whatever. that's a different
that's,
issue.
that's closer to the Hallworth, if you go that way.
My point is,
No, it's on Grant.
but it's on. Well, no, it comes.
Going toward Hallworth.
No, but the problem
Yeah, I'm
is
sorry.
it just grows. Like you can't to pinpoint it to that little intersection. There's so many pieces that go into it. It's the train station. It's the flooding. If there's a flood, you're trapped. I work at Riverdale High School. It took me an hour and a half to get to work one day from that flood because I had to go around Oltic Road through, and then you hit Kindermack, take your life in your hands, and then the traffic just stops there because it's volume. It's sheer volume and no safety.
These are important things we're hearing about.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My neighbor.
She had her time.
These are
Oh.
engineering things.
She had her time.
Yeah.
And like unfortunately,
The volume there is no
if
control.
things don't change,
Right.
sorry.
Oh, we're not passing the microphone?
I think he's saying.
Oh, gotcha.
you didn't hear
Gotcha.
anything I said.
All right. Take it away. You're good.
Good?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Rob Clough. I'm in Oradell for 50 years, 1975, on Grant Avenue. And I've seen a lot of change. And randomly just going not in no order, but I heard the train location. That is a huge effect. And if it was moved, and I heard it was going to possibly be moved towards the VFW lot so that it would not block Oradell Avenue, that's a big nut, right? That'll open up a lot of traffic because every morning at 8:15, when some of my house is leaving for work, it's backed up from the tracks way past my house towards Haworth. So, because the train has to stop and block Oradell Avenue, so if it was able to pass Oradell Avenue, that'd be great. All right, let's hit the elephant in the room here. So in 2004, I was here in October. No, right before early September, arguing a fact that a council member and a couple of residents on First Avenue colluded to make a change on the right turn onto First Street, coming from Haworth, off of Grant. And then I suffered an accident, which I, coincidentally enough, have another one, the same freaking ankle, 20 years later. But yes, it's 20 years later. The problem is, I feel, and I'm sure a lot of people feel, especially on 2nd and 3rd Street, if we're able to rescind the right-hand turn onto First Street, coming from Haworth, it would totally alleviate a lot of traffic onto Grant and Oradell Avenue.
Right turn from First to Oradell?
A right turn off of Grant Street,
Grant to First.
heading south,
From Grant.
on Grant onto First. Right?
First Street.
I can't see that. So bottom line, coming from Haworth, you should be able to make a right-hand turn onto 3rd Street, First Street.
No, I'm an outsider, and I don't want to throw fuel in the fire. I don't want to do that. But if there's so much volume, and if someone's coming from Haworth and makes that right-hand turn, that is a residential area there. Are those homes going to get crushed with traffic?
They're all, excuse me, they're all residential area. Grant Street is residential. First Street is residential. They're all residential. It just so happened that the councilman and residential people on First Street colluded to make that agreement. That was done in 2004. 2004, guarantee it. It was done.
What was the change that
They put limits onto the right turn onto First Street from Grant Avenue, coming from Haworth. It was done in 2004.
It's the one mounted on the wall I think we have. We have short maps, but not a large.
Grant.
You know, the signs were put up after.
It's that long. It's a very short, from the end of Haworth to Oradell Avenue is a very short stint.
Okay.
It's a straightaway. Oradell is very
It's longer. Okay.
Right. So Grant Avenue turns into a boulevard going to New Milford.
It's very easy to.
I could put up on it.
Either way, it's very short.
So basically, when you head south on Grant,
Isn't Granite County Road over there from Haworth? I thought it was like designated 88.
it doesn't matter.
Haworth is up here. This is still.
It doesn't matter.
Forward. This is the
It's
Hound
still,
Club.
No, I'm not.
It's
Right.
First Street.
still a
is-
municipal roadway. It's
Right,
not-
for what?
Not county.
I'm sorry?
It's not a county road.
I wish we could get a normal.
Where Oradell Avenue turns
It's
into a
like
county
country
road
club.
is when it meets
And
Veldren Avenue.
Oh, even better.
Actually, it's not.
So
out
from
here.
Veldren to Grant is municipal. Grant Avenue is municipal. Your street.
Okay, you
Each
guys
with
can
all
see
those.
this, right? Is it big enough?
But I can't. They don't
Yeah.
seem to have it on here.
Zoom out.
See what I mean? They don't have anything over here.
So in August, I proposed having speed humps put on Grant. And they were saying, oh, you can't do that. And then someone said, oh, maybe we should do that by the St. Joe's Church. And then they put the temporary in quotes, speed humps on First Street, which eventually they were removed. There were chains with the plastic humps on them. And temporary became permanent with the asphalt hump. Right. I'm just saying, I'm giving the history.
No, I'm just saying it's just not.
Given the history.
I mean, it's not that everybody would go down First Street. A lot of people will still choose to go to Grant, but it would just alleviate.
Right, it's a split. It splits the traffic, exactly. And they're both residential streets. There's nothing commercial about either one.
Good.
So
Thank you.
I'm not looking, I don't anticipate having that changed, right? Because once things are put in place, we know how it works. But what I am proposing, if that cannot be done, secondary measure. Oh, wait.
I'm sorry, thank you.
Okay, secondary.
So secondary measure would be putting a stop sign at First Street and Grant, heading south. Because that would eliminate the cars flying by well over 25 miles an hour, crashing into my neighbors' houses on that turn. It's happened many times.
But only if it's enforced.
And I'm scared. And also, what I'm scared about is once the sidewalks were put in, right? The Oradell put these sidewalks in like 2 years ago, which are falling apart and going to be replaced. I'm actually afraid to walk down those sidewalks because I see these cars flying from Haworth into Oradell around that turn. And if anyone, just go by there. It's scary. I mean, you would take your life into your hand walking down that road. So putting a stop sign coming from Haworth into Oradell would definitely help. Now, months ago, you guys held this, what is it called? The Drive Smart thing on Oradell, Grant Avenue, and you put the sign up.
Mm-hmm.
The sign's fallen down, no one pays attention to it, but I appreciate the effort, right? I really appreciate the effort to bring attention to the problem that's in the area.
All right. Well, good. That's no. I got it right here. Can I? This is my microphone right here.
And the list.
You can take that to the next person. Yeah, I'm gonna use this thing.
And so the last thing I have is, not for this, but Oradell, the whole thing was to put the sidewalks on Grant Avenue for everyone to be safe. But they did not put sidewalks on Grant Avenue from First Street to Haworth, where 90% of the people travel going to the reservoir. So the sidewalks that were put in front of my house, that I've never had a sidewalk in my house in 50 years, I had to put one in, and now, 15 months later, it has to be ripped up because it's not safe. It was not put in at all going to the reservoir, where we were told the entire Grant Avenue in Oradell had to be replaced. So,
I just want to clarify for my notes.
sure.
So you're saying you yourself put in a sidewalk on First Street in front of your house?
No,
No. The town did, okay.
not on First Street. The town put in sidewalks on Grant Avenue,
Yes, okay, that's
but
that.
failed to put in sidewalk from First Street to Haworth on Grant.
The town got a grant for the sidewalks.
On Grant, okay, so that's where I'm sorry. I'm confusing.
Right,
Okay, and now,
but they didn't do it to Haworth.
and now you're saying.
No, it's not. It's Oradell.
10 feet from First Street to the fence.
It's not 10 feet. Not 10 feet.
Where did you say the town was going to
I'm sorry. Excuse me?
Can I show you on the map? tell me.
What's your question?
They're gonna rip up, where are they planning to rip it up?
Oh, they should rip everything up on that they put in because it's falling apart, right, Michelle?
Grant.
But they're
On
reinstalling
Grant,
it.
right?
They're not ripping it up.
Well, they should.
Reinstalling it.
Hopefully.
Repair it, they'll replace it.
Yeah, repair it.
Repair, sidewalk.
Yeah, because if we put that in, they would say you put it in wrong and charge us.
It's about two.
All right, good. Let's go to the next person, and knowing
Yeah, I
that-
think.
Okay.
we got-
My name is Rita Walker. Am I?
Yeah, give.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Rita Walker. I've been a resident, I hate to admit it, but 53 years in Oradell. And this has been a time eternal event that's always happening with the problem with the traffic. I can remember moving into town. I had 3 children, expecting my 4th, and they talked about Oradell Avenue being so busy, and we are on Oradell Avenue. But they said there's a possibility that we're going to make a bridge from the reservoir someplace up north of, like up where the White Beaches Country Club is, over to Soldier Hill Road. That eventually was nixed, I heard, because the mayor at the time had a home right up in the area on Soldier Hill Road. But that's here nor there. That was too many years ago to even lament. However, there's been a number of different changes. And the one thing, when we talk about the train, I think that's a big issue. And I've gone through a number of administrations, and the train can stop past, when it's going south, past the train station, and let the gates up and let the cars flow through and let the people get on the train. However, that doesn't seem to be the case. Maybe one train in the course of a morning will happen that he'll do that. I don't know whether you need what you need, but I do know it can be done without moving train stations and all. Ideally, yes, and I know that's in the planning or the proposal for a train station to also be moved down further north on the tracks right now. But that's a discussion for another time. So just a little bit of a history. The other thing is, I think we do need, and I agree with the people, that you gotta patrol the area, and you've got to, they're speeding down 3rd Street, and we have so many wonderful little kids on 3rd Street now, and I worry. And there are cars that just step on it as they go around that turn. 2 years ago, we had a car come zooming around the corner from Oradell Avenue onto 3rd. It rolled over, and kids were jumping out the car window to run away. So it is and has been a big issue. So I think, though, patrolling the area right now, tonight, tomorrow, and I don't think there's a time frame. I'm out on my deck, and there can be 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They get around that turn on Oradell Avenue, and they zoom down the street. So, and I know our officers are very busy, but I really think that if they know, the word gets around very quickly. I taught in Alpine, and when I would come down Hillside Avenue, I would slow down because I knew, and in fact I did once get a ticket for speeding down Hillside Avenue in Alpine. So you do need to patrol it. And finally, the last thing is, I don't remember now, but I think that it's just an issue that really is going to take a long time to resolve, but I do think it can be done. So.
Well, you bringing up 3rd Avenue is, I'd like to jump to question number 6, because it looks like you provided a lot of information on safety, your safety improvements, personal experiences. You offered a lot of great feedback on that one. So piggybacking on 3rd Avenue, if we go down to number 6, just for the next few minutes, because I'd like to have Lisa present in a little bit shortly, so we're not here too late. Where else do you feel, and you touched on this a little bit, but if you can be a little bit more, little more information, where else do you feel there are pedestrian / biking / driving safety issues within the borough? I mean, I know we went over train station, 3rd Avenue, boom, boom, boom. I'm sorry.
Okay, hi. So I had hoped for many years that the following would occur. When our children were young, we taught them a very important lesson. That was, when you cross the street, make sure you look both ways before crossing. This is a societal thing now. A lot of this is what's going on in society. But the difficulty is that these days, and in the past several years, walkers who are crossing streets, they certainly have the right of way. However, they also have an obligation to look both ways before they cross the street to make sure a car is not coming from to the left or to the right. I live on Beechwood. Beechwood is the first street on the left, Oradell Avenue to Grant, and then immediately to the left is Beechwood. Now, when there are walkers there who are adults, they feel they have the right of way. Pedestrians do have the right of way. However, that is a very dangerous spot because the walkers, I have never seen anyone look both ways. They are crossing. I go about 7 miles an hour when I make a right on Grant because I know there's somebody behind me who's so happy he made it to the end of Oradell Avenue and can go to the right that he's ready to go. However, I'm there going very slowly because I need to go to the left. And the walkers, when they are crossing, they don't look up to see if a car is coming, and it is so scary for me. It happens often, and it's very scary because should I hit them? Should I not hit them? I don't know. I'm thinking about that as I'm going. Or I have to go straight and go to Merritt. That gives me a little bit more time. I cannot stop and let the walkers cross because I'm going to get hit from behind, as I did a few weeks ago when I was standing still on Kinderkamak and was hit from behind by somebody who swore he was not on his phone. So I know you can't do anything about this. I had hoped for years that the record or some kind of a notice would go out in Oradell reminding the walkers, please, when you cross the street, look up, look to the left and to the right. We have more traffic in town. Please protect yourself. I wish somebody from Town Hall would send something out to this effect. But I don't think you can talk about this intersection without talking about Beechwood because it is so scary to make that left.
Hello, good evening. Just wait for them. Hi, good evening. I'm Diana Danchuk. I live in 3rd in Grant. So other areas where there are like risk for pedestrians, bikers, I would say 1st Street and Grant. We do have a treasure in our town, which is the old reservoir, right? We have a lot of walkers, bikers, pedestrians, children that walk that area. That crosswalk is very dangerous. Because it's not only to cross the street, but also like to make the left to go towards the reservoir. A lot of people come to see the bald eagles that are in our reservoir, so they park on 3rd. They're not even residents from the town, but a lot of people come and they park on 3rd, and then they walk through the streets to go there. So we have a high area of, is a high traffic for pedestrians. And also, on top of that, we have the bikers on Sunday morning. They all come, is big groups of like 50 people, 20 people, early morning, which is, again, usually when the cars are speeding. So there is a conflict in that area. So if you zoom out a little bit more, you can see from Sunrise, so coming from north, and even if you come more, right? Sunset Avenue. So towards the right, like there's a big strip in there. That's where the cars speed up. That's where the bikers are trying to pick up to go up the hill. And that's also where the pedestrians are going towards the bird area, to the forest area. So the crossing area from First Street, Grant Avenue, and Country Club is a very dangerous. It's just volume, high speed, so a lot of risk areas.
One thing, where's the bird area? You said the
so
bird
if you
area.
keep zooming out, people walk all the way, keep going, keep zooming out. Yeah, so people walk all the way, even more.
From up here?
Oradell Reservoir Trail.
Wow.
So there's a trail in there. It's like I don't know the correct word. Yeah, it's a trail, but there is like is a bird, people come bird sightseeing. There's like bald eagle nest in there. You can picnic there. People can, we're so lucky to have it. Like I just went with my children biking. So it's just like, it's a great area to see the water. But again, I agree with everybody. Everything is temporal solution. Creating a bridge over Sunset Avenue going to Soldier Hill is probably where could reroute some of the traffic, similar how it's done in Old Hook Road, up north on the same reservoir. So it's not like Veolia hasn't dealt with this probably in the past, but it has been done. So if you zoom out even more, like, again, agreeing with the other gentleman, this is a regional problem, not a town problem. We need to create areas to create flow, so we all can work together. At the end of the day, we're all neighbors, right? So we're trying to find a solution. I know there's different points of views, but that's a point in there that.
Okay, I'm just going to ask for confirmation.
Sure.
So you're saying that people are coming from Country Club Drive, right?
Yeah.
Are they driving or
both
walking?
ways?
Both
so
ways.
everywhere.
Both ways.
So it's from Country Club, but from First.
From First, Country Club, Sunset, and from the north.
So Sunset, they come down. You see that's where they can speed, because that's the end of Hayward, sorry, I don't know how to say it. Howard, thank you. Come down in that curve. And that, right where the trees end, that's the end of Howard. That's where Oradell starts. There's nothing that stops the speed. So that's a good area to get a good in any motorized vehicle.
Lakeshore Drive, this one? Yeah.
On your handout there, can you make sure you write that location too?
Sure.
Just so we have that right down too.
Sure.
Lakeshore Drive.
Oh, okay.
And how about one other area before I hand it over to Lisa? You guys have been great with your input. It's been wonderful. Anybody?
My name is Bill. I live on First Street. I think, specifically, I think there should be a crosswalk that crosses Grant Street from First Street, so you could go to Country Club Road, because there's a sidewalk there, but there's no way to cross. So I just blindly do it and risk my life, but it's worth it because Country Club's a great road to walk. So that's like a specific thing you could do, like right there.
First Street and Grant Ave.
Or even further up where Country Club.
First and Grant. First and Grant.
That would be a specific thing that would help
Club Drive
in
and
safety.
And we need one with lights, so cars stop, because they're just flying.
And then also, if you were to put crosswalks at the corner that we're here to talk about, there's only one crosswalk at the corner of Grant and Oradell Ave. So I don't understand why there isn't one that crosses, right there, like where your mouse is. Because, that would be safer for me and my family if we wanted to cross the road instead of going down to Beechwood and then crossing the road, because there's nowhere to cross. But you'd have to walk all the way down.
Oh, right, it's further down, right?
I think if there was a crosswalk,
it's further
more
down.
than one, it would just slow people down in general.
You live on First Street?
Yes.
So why would you want to cross there?
well, if I just want to take a walk and go to Beechwood, I need to cross Grant Street at some point, or. So I just think I know we're here to talk about that specific corner. So either adding a traffic light, I don't know what your ideas are. Adding more, I don't know what their ideas are, but I'm just saying that's like why we're here to talk about that corner. So maybe more crosswalks, so that with stop signs to slow people down, because it is a very unsafe place to cross the street, and there's only one crosswalk where you then, if you want to get to the other side of Grant, you have to walk all the way down to cross, which I don't think a lot of people do, because it's inconvenient, and I think people are not wanting to be inconvenienced, so they're just crossing without a crosswalk. Side note, I live on First Street, and if there's a car parked in front of my house and a car parked in front of my neighbor's house across the street, only one car can pass. So I think the idea of letting cars go there openly would cause a huge backup, because it's not meant for large groups, a lot of cars going through, whereas Oradell Ave and Grant Street, you can park multiple a car on each side of the road and still drive. No. Okay.
Not a very wide street.
Okay, but more specifically, I would ask for more crosswalks.
Can I ask a question? Why, if you live there, do you not have a driveway and a garage? Why do you park on the street versus parking in your own driveway?
If it's not me, I mean, I park in the
you're saying
driveway, but
other
there are
people.
people that park on the street.
People visit. I mean,
Yeah.
people park at the reservoir to go to the reservoir, and all those streets are very narrow. So if you're on either side,
Can you?
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry. All those streets are very narrow. If you park cars on either side, they're all the same size. The bend from from Sunset to Grant is quite wide. That's why we need a crosswalk, because when you cross that, where you're saying you want that crosswalk, you're taking your life in your hands going across to Country Club, because it's a little wider there, and that's why people really speed, because they come around that corner. But once you hit Grant, it's very narrow. And the rule with us is, if you have people over, you have to keep them on one side of the street. You can't have people park on both sides, or else you're done. You know how many mirrors that I've lost on my cars? I go at my kids' friends come over, I tuck their mirrors in the street like a lunatic, because someone's just going to come by and get them. I mean, it's really bad. So I think it applies to all the streets, though. Like you said, this applies to every one of us. It's not just Grant. We all have our issues, but it's just bad all around. Oh, yeah, forget it. No. You're not garbage truck? Yeah, forget it. No.
If you're, I wish if you were I wish if you were considering the widths of the streets, Grant versus the ones on First and everything, you would measure it yourself to determine, if one was much narrower than the other. The other thing I just wanted to add about the train was with the rails coming down, they might have, even if we moved it further away, the boarding of the train or where the train stops, they might have specific, I'm sure they do, feet that where people board has to be a certain distance from whether or not they can lift those bars or not. That's right. I hope, that would interfere with things too. And then just quickly, a number of people have mentioned about the speeding from Haworth on Grant, and yes, I agree with that totally. But I also want to say the other end of Grant has speeders too. If they get a chance to speed, they're speeding. And I yell at them sometimes as they go by. Not that it does any good, but I just get so frustrated because they just go, like it's a racetrack. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take one more. Then I want Lisa to come on for some for feedback. So if it's
I just have one thing to add with building the new bridge, which obviously it would cost millions of dollars and probably is not going to happen. But they have been talking about they're going to have to replace the bridge on Oradell Avenue by the train station eventually, which I don't even know how that can be possibly feasible, because I just don't know how it could even work. So if they built the new one, then it would give a way to detour people on the new bridge while they were fixing the old bridge. So there is a little bit of, and because they keep building, there's more and more volume. It's a problem everywhere. All these towns up north come through our town. It's just not really fair to us. So
they come to take the train.
No. There's
If you don't slow down, it's
There's only a couple east-west roads. There's not enough east-west. So all these towns funnel into...
Speak into the mic, please.
All these towns up north, Haworth, Alpine, Northvale, all Closter, everything. If they want to get to Paramus or New York, they all funnel through our towns because there's only 2 roads. So until you fix that...
No, we could go more. You
Yeah.
have to see the whole reservoir
Yeah.
to understand the problem. So you see up top, there's only one crossover.
Yeah.
through Old Road.
Old Hook Road up here.
Yeah. So all these towns come through ours. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're closer to the highway.
Right. Yeah. So that's the problem. Yeah. So it's a
because
problem for our town, for New Milford, to anywhere. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, we'll take.
And I will also add about the police, because if they would stop people, because like Haworth, if you go through Haworth, I've gotten a couple tickets, but now I go like 10 miles an hour because there's cops everywhere, and it works. If the word gets out that you don't speed through there or you'll get a ticket, it works. So.
Yeah, we'll take one more.
Sam Tripsis, I live on Maple Avenue. The Oradell Avenue Bridge has been in plans for to be replaced. They've been working on it for 5 years now, and about 2 weeks ago, the engineer sent someone down to the library to go through the archives to see the history of the bridge. So we should be looking at that change. And they're not saying exactly. They're looking at options. First, they talked about upgrading it, but I think it's going to be replaced. And I've been looking at the history actually from it was built in 1904, because the first one was defective after 3 years, actually after a month. And then and that's what we have. The one that's there is from 1904. I live on Maple Avenue. I've lived there for 35 years, and it's always been a cut through because it runs parallel to Kindercomack Road. So people use it as a shortcut, going east. If they're coming from the east, they make a left at the train station, which is Maple, and they avoid the traffic light and go down to Ridgewood Avenue and make a right at Ridgewood through that traffic light. And they do it in reverse too. And while they're doing it, they're speeding. One solution was a 4-way stop sign. That helps. That slows people down. But we get delivery trucks, school buses, just passing through to avoid the light. And this has been going on as long as I've been there, and probably longer.
And I'm sorry. The cut through you mentioned was.
It's Maple Avenue. It's the same street that's the train station is on.
And a 4-way stop sign where exactly?
The
Maple and
4-way
Ridgewood?
stop sign is at Center and Maple.
Center.
It's effective, but the people speed up to that point, going in both directions. But we do get delivery trucks that want to go around the block, and school buses, and we don't really have any school buses in Oradell, so they're using it as a shortcut also. Last thing, a great solution that's been brought up for the train station is not to move the train station, but the platform is long enough to have all the cars on the platform, and some of them do and clear the gate. So I don't know why. Maybe somebody should be talking to New Jersey Transit to see if they can clear it every single time, and that would keep the gates up more. So, thank you.
When you say clear it, you mean?
In other words, go into the station.
At the right point so that they're not.
Right, whatever it is to activate the gates, and not like in Emerson, in the Emerson station, they were always blocking the intersection. It's the same thing here. So I say, there's no solution for them, but there is a solution for us to stay take up the whole platform.
What are the roads that they're blocking?
They're blocking Oradell Avenue. This is all this discussion. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
That train? Here. That train thing? Can you zoom that out? That map? No, I don't need that.
Hi, sorry, I have one more thing I just have to bring up about Grant Ave.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I live on Grant Ave, and that Beechwood crosswalk was only made, like 6 months ago or something? And I have a child, and it's impossible to cross that street. And what drove me insane, Grant Ave, I live on Grant Ave. So the Beechwood crosswalk was like a phantom crosswalk. It just came up like 6 months ago. So for years, my kid couldn't walk to school because crossing that street's impossible. So I would walk to school with them. There's no crossing guards, there's nothing. So that was really annoying, and I don't even know it's a discussion. Like, why isn't, this is like obvious, right? And there's no crosswalk to get to the reservoir, and there's no barrier, so when cars are barreling down, to block it if you are walking there to the reservoir. So that's just a safety issue. That's all I want to say. Sidewalk to the reservoir, barrier, crosswalk.
Where exactly are you mentioning? Right now I'm on Beechwood and Grant. Where, further up, further north?
I'm on Grant 460. Okay, so First Ave, that's the crosswalk that I have been emailing about probably for a few years now.
This one?
Yes. Right. Everyone keeps bringing up this Beechwood. Yeah, everyone keeps bringing up this Beechwood crosswalk, and that is new. That's like and
That's First Street.
Nobody
First
else
Street.
has said
No,
Beechwood.
she's talking
Nobody
about
else
the
tonight
pedestrian
has
one that
said
just
Yeah,
closed.
the one- yeah.
Hasbrook and Grant.
Yeah.
They did that with the sidewalks.
Sorry. Okay. So that's cool. That's there. It's great. But we need one over here.
Over where? Right there.
First Street and Grant. First Street
Correct.
and Grant.
And then also, when I brought it up before, they said they couldn't do it because somebody's house is right there and they're using the driveway.
If the crosswalk runs into the driveway, that cannot be done.
So there's that, but he also has a driveway in front of his house. So is it zoned that can you have two driveways like that, or?
Go zoom in earlier.
I am zoomed in.
It's go up more.
Yeah.
Oh, here.
Driveway there, it's blocked by the trees.
Yeah, there's a driveway. I can barely see it.
Yeah, so in other words, if they build a crosswalk there, it will run into his driveway. Yeah, they can't do that.
But I don't know if that's like a real driveway or they just made the driveway.
No, I think it's.
That's the borderline of Haworth and Oradell.
But, yeah, because he also has a he has a driveway in First. Yeah. Anyway.
I think that's the sidewalk there. Or that's the line there.
This one, there's a driveway.
Or down here. Or here.
That's like the man's curve.
Yeah, and then I mean I see like people with babies trying to get over this like terrain to get to the reservoir, and they made the sidewalk on Grant finally, and then they just stopped.
So if you see that line there on the left side.
So this one, you're saying this could probably be doable right here from First and Grant. The other one, if it runs into his driveway.
It's on a blind curve though.
Driveway.
There's gotta be lights or something.
But I think
Maybe this spot.
Yeah.
I think it could be sorry. Like right there.
Yeah.
And here's the thing.
Let's just maybe brainstorm about solutions, because that is a solution to slow down traffic. Another way to slow down traffic is, you know, like when you drive and you go boom, 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 boom. You know, it's not like an actual speed bump.
They're called rumbles.
Yes, that should start way above right there, because as you go through the curve, it will automatically let you slow down. Again, if there's another sidewalk with flashing light pedestrian, another way to slow down traffic.
Can I just add one thing to that?
Yeah.
Because the problem is coming from
Lakeshore and
coming
The other side
coming
too,
from
right?
Sunset, it's 40 miles an hour. That straightaway by White Beaches, and all of a sudden you hit Oradell, and it's 25, and it's this tiny little sign that nobody really seems to obey. And it's a blind curve, so the crosswalk really has to be. And I'm all for it. I'm not saying that is such a scary corner turn. I'm like panic thinking about a child trying to cross there.
Because you know what? That corner right there, four cars crash into that tree, that huge tree. Yeah.
All right, everybody, Lieutenant, do you want to have a comment or two before I go to Lisa then? Did you want to mention something?
The crosswalk you guys were mentioning at First and Grant is an engineering problem with the curve. So I would have to talk to Mr. Atkinson to see what can be done or where the safest place to put a crosswalk in. Because the curve is the worst, and we don't want anybody getting killed there.
It's horrible.
Curve at Grant and First. I mean, the picture doesn't really depict it as great, but it is a curve, and we do have to get a new sign that was torn down after a crash coming out of Haworth into Oradell. So we put a regular stop 25 mile an hour sign in. I think we're going to try to get an LED one so you get a little bit more warning. As the rumble strips, I have to go through engineering for that, and I also have to talk to Harworth to see how much we can do into their town on that curve.
Oh, that's where the boundary is?
Yes, about 250 feet north of First Street.
Can we put a stop sign right there? On First Street?
That's the curve.
Right, no, after the curve, right there.
That's what he's mentioning.
Yeah.
In Oradell.
He's engineering.
Yeah, the blind curve. Sometimes you don't want to put a crossing where there's a blind
Yeah.
curve and the pedestrians can't see the cars coming, the cars can't see the pedestrian.
I mean, right now it's happening. Everyone's crossing anyway. So that just needs to change. There needs to be a safe way for children to cross the street.
I just got to go through enengineering.
Yeah.
I can
So-
bring it up. Definitely bring it up.
Getting to engineering, is there any, like, are they doing any surveys? I never see anyone by us doing any kind of survey or studying traffic patterns. I see them up by the train station, in that intersection where the train and the Oradell Ave and the train tracks are. But these are obvious issues. Like, anyone could tell you this. They live in River Edge and they could tell you this is a problem.
So
Where are there surveys being?
Mike and his team,
Yeah.
we requested a speed study, right, your section there, the straightaway. And Mike, if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to do both directions if we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then from there, we take it to engineering, and then we can see what we can implement.
Okay.
Wait, can you get the mic? Can you get the mic? Sorry.
Lisa, come over here so you can take over.
Harworth regularly, and forgive me, I don't know the name of the street, but Harworth regularly places a patrolman on that cul-de-sac when you first come around Grant, if you're heading eastbound. There's a cul-de-sac there. The very first one, right there, right there. I regularly see a Harworth police officer sitting there. I'd love to know if Harworth could give you the numbers on how many speeders they trap there.
You can find out.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. They pull them over in both directions. Both directions. Yep.
And what their speed is.
Yes.
What their speed is.
All right, everybody.
One last thing that I wanted to bring up. So before, when you go into Oradell Ave, making a left into Grand. So,
1 second. There you go.
so if you zoom back out, like a lot of the traffic also goes into 2nd and 3rd Street. Could we put what did you say that it was called? Like the things that slow you down.
Rumble strips.
Rumble strips. Thank you. But it should be in 2nd and 3rd. Like people try to avoid that stop, and then they speed up and make a left onto 3rd. I'm the second house on 3rd, and cars just fly by. There is no sign, there is nothing, there's no speed bump. So then, and unfortunately, there is no police there either. So then they just go really, really fast. There's no lights either. Yeah. And we have all the pedestrians and all the seniors walking, which, but it will be very helpful to put something on 2nd and 3rd as well.
All right, everybody, we could be here for a little while longer, but personally, we can't. So what Lisa's going to do right now, thank you. Your input was outstanding. Thank you very much for everything. Yeah. It was really wonderful. Lisa's going to go over a couple slides right now, too, about potential ideas.
Potential improvements. Yeah, so just to give this a little bit of clarity and comment, right? We are not your borough. You guys are the residents. Here we have the police. So the decision makers for all of this, right, as you know, are going to be like your mayor, your council, your engineer, your township engineer. And what we can do is tonight we want to show you some possible solutions and also have you vote on them. We're going to record that and we're going to keep that. So have the dots all been given out? My team? Okay, so my team is going to come around and we're going to give you dots. We also have, see this big thing over there, that big plastic sign? I asked you all to put some comments on the sticky notes. After the meeting, before you leave, I want you to put your sticky notes on that sign for us. In the orange section is where you can put the ones with the different comments. The other part is, and we're going to say that the target intersection is Grant and Oradell. You can vote on whether you think it's safe, whether it's the middle section is neither safe or unsafe, and at the bottom is unsafe. So you want to maybe vote there, and then I want you to put your other comments in the orange part. Now I'm going to go through some possible solutions with the idea that we're trying to encourage the town to not only just consider the needs of drivers, but also people walking, your children, people biking, and that concept is called trying to make complete streets that are designed for all modes, whether you're walking, biking, oh yeah, he's telling me to make it bigger, walking, biking, or driving. Because this is what happens. If you design your streets just for cars, like you see in this first photo at the top, then all you're going to get is cars, and you might get a lot of speeding. If you design your streets for people, like with nice high visibility crosswalks, maybe you have room on the road for people to, sidewalks for people to walk, maybe you have like a shoulder or a bike lane for people to ride their bikes, then you're going to get people. So that's just the overarching concept of having streets that aren't just built for cars. So speed, just really quickly, as you all know, speed can be very dangerous. So if somebody is hit by a car going 20 miles an hour, 9 out of 10 people will survive. If you just go 20 miles more, 40 miles an hour, only 1 out of the 10 pedestrians will survive. So it's really important to look at speeding, and you guys have all done a really wonderful job of bringing to our attention how important it is to slow traffic. So I'm going to present a few different possible ideas. So crosswalks. The ones at the top are what we call low visibility, with just the 2 lines. Then you can add more striping, and finally more striping and lines. These are high visibility. The paint on the road is supposed to kind of get the attention of the drivers so that they will realize that people are going to be crossing. The high visibility crosswalks are always going to be better than the low visibility crosswalks. Okay, so that's one possible. Curb extensions here are little things that are built out that shorten the crossing and also put the pedestrians where they're more visible to drivers coming. This is a permanent one done with concrete, but some towns, they might do a demonstration pilot project. They might just paint a curb extension and maybe put some little plastic sticks out there, and that it shortens the crossing, and it also it should hopefully also slow down the drivers. Okay, wide lanes, as you guys have all brought to our attention, really promotes speeding. So if you look at this photo, it's like a speedway, like a race car. You just see these wide lanes, and cars are just going to fly down them. So if you can do something, wait. I got out of order somewhere there. So I'll put this back. So if you can do something to narrow your driving lanes, like here, all they did was simply to paint a shoulder. That in itself, when people see a narrower lane, they're going to slow down, because it seems like, it's not as easy to fly down the roadway. And if you do other things, then you could put things you could put a bike lane here, or you could do other things. That's going to slow them down even more. So let me go back here. This is something called a raised crosswalk. It's kind of like having a very wide speed table. A speed hump, we all know what a speed bump or a speed hump are, right? They're narrower. This is actually the width of your whole crosswalk. You can see this has got painted markings. If a car flies over this, it's gonna hurt the bottom of their car. So having a raised crosswalk also helps to slow traffic. But you've got to definitely put some signage ahead of it to warn people, hey, here's coming up is a speed bump or a speed table. they're going to hurt their cars if they go too fast. So, and this also lifts the pedestrians up to a higher level so that they're more visible. Now, here's the reality in New Jersey. Somehow we've all been trained to like think of the speed limit, and we tend to drive 10 miles faster because we think our friendly police officers are going to give us that extra 10 miles, right? So the problem is that even if you have a speed limit of like 35 or 25, a lot of drivers are going to go 10 miles faster thinking they're not going to get a ticket if they're going that. So some towns are now reducing their speed limits to 20 miles an hour. The municipality can do that with an ordinance. Some, we have our school speed limit zones, 25. When I went to the Netherlands, people are biking there. Their speed limit in their school zones is 9 miles per hour. So you can just think that we're almost like 3 times that in the U.S. And they don't have many people or children getting hit. We have a lot of kids getting hit. So reducing your speed limit is an option. So you got to think about. Okay. Radar speed signs, these can work. So we're going to do a speed study. We're going to install this on some of those roadways. The display, oftentimes when people see that, that little sign and it's flashing them, it will slow them down. So that's another option, to put like a permanent display radar sign. And then here we've also got pavement markings where it says slow, school, or like the ones you saw here. These can also help to slow people down because they're not sure what's happening, but they see it and they're like, what is that? So they slow down. Definitely having more of these ped crossing signs wherever you do have a crosswalk is a really good idea. I went through that. Okay, this is something called a chicane. This is another way to slow traffic. So let's start on the far right. And you can pilot these. So this is a permanent one with a paved area with also some green space, which also helps to absorb extra water. So that's something, you might have to consider if you have flooding. It's very expensive, but permeable pavement helps to absorb the water, and then it also stores it. And so that the water isn't just flooding the roads. You might need to think of how you can add more of these green areas so that the water gets absorbed. But this will definitely slow cars when they see it coming if you've got a wide road. And then here you see they've also got they've got the markings, they've got a hump, and they've also done this little curvy thing. And it's intentional. It looks weird, but it slows people down. And then this one is really extreme. They must have really had problems, this one on the left, because this is a pretty big chicane, but it will really slow people down. Okay, so these are just ideas. Other thing that's really important, lighting, right? So a lot of times in our towns, we have what are called street lights that are high up. They're over the roadways for cars. But you also need to have sometimes these lower lights like these, and you especially maybe want to have them at your corners where if you put in a crosswalk so that they light up any people trying to cross and the drivers can see them. And then finally, I think this is my last one. Oh, no, I have one more. This is a very expensive option, right? So a lot of communities, they don't know if they can afford this, but putting in a traffic signal and a pedestrian signal, that can definitely work. But seriously, very expensive. Like maybe if you had one at each 4 corners, every signal might be like $150,000 to $200,000. So one intersection could literally be like $1 million. So that's why some towns are looking at these other options. I didn't put it here, but the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, people can push the button, they flash. Those can be helpful, but if you've got a lot of people that are bad and they disregard your stop signs and their things, I don't know if that's going to be effective. Obviously, people mention stop signs. That can also be a good solution to have like a 4-way or a 3-way stop, so that everybody's got to stop. And then finally this, if you have put in a signal, these are called leading pedestrian interval phases. A lot of the issues with pedestrians getting hit at high pedestrian traffic corners is because the cars are turning at the same time as the people are trying to cross. So a LPI phase, no cost. If you have the signal already and they have the pedestrian heads, they can just change the timing so that the cars have a red light and the people can start crossing before and get at least halfway before the cars start turning. That way the cars see the people. They can see them better. A lot of times the issue is drivers are distracted. They don't see anyone on the sidewalks. So that's something, but it will only work if you have a signal. So stop signs are less expensive, but again, like all of those kinds of things, your engineer would have to also look at the roadway to see if they're merited, if they can do it. So with that, we've put down all of these solutions on little signs. We've given you, I think my team just gave you little red or green dots. So I'd love for you guys, did we give out the dots?
Oh, yeah. How many does each person get?
Remember three of each color? Three of each color. Yeah, because we got to force them to pick the thing they like the best.
What does it mean?
And maybe we should make one that says stop signs. Can you make me another thing?
Volume, because that's the problem. These are all Band-Aids, and I appreciate it, but there's nothing here to say, how are we going to remedy the major issue, which is there's the volume of traffic. This may keep us safe in the short term, and it's wonderful, I appreciate your time, but volume is the problem. This is just Band-Aid.
Well, I mean, volume, the only thing that can help with volume is if you reroute traffic somewhere else, right? Yeah. I don't think that's the solution.
I'm just letting you know.
I don't think you can stop the cars. But what you've got to do is you've got to make it safer.
But that's the problem. So maybe you need to make a note of that. That is the problem. These are all these are Band-Aids.
Bridges are also very expensive. So I heard you guys bringing up the thing with the bridges over water. Those are super, super.
Well, so is, taking the life of a dog or a child.
I have 2 dogs. I'm a dog lover. And obviously we're safe routes to school, so we want to protect the children. Traffic volume.
You don't live there. You're not in the town, so you don't understand.
No, I mean, I heard what you're saying. There's only a couple of ways that people can get through. But short of stopping the traffic, there's nothing that we can do. You just have to be aware of what the volume is and then design accordingly. But design can make a difference. Yeah. And if you make it slow for them,
Then there's a traffic jam.
what's going to happen is the impatient people will go the other way. They'll go somewhere else. So that's what we. But there is no other way.
That's the problem.
But there's nowhere to go.
But you can definitely slow down the speeding on on Grant.
One solution I didn't hear is traffic cams.
Yeah, so you mean like speeding cameras or cameras?
Well, just something where you don't have to have an officer physically. Where you don't have to have an officer physically there to catch a speeder, but maybe an officer could be stationed at a multi-camera view, and if the software can scan that people are speeding, the license plate can be taken a picture of. Could that help?
That is a very valid thing.
It's not legal in New Jersey.
It's not legal? Okay.
It's not legal in New Jersey.
Just a thought.
Well, the speeding cameras, but you might be able to mount cameras for other things. But trust me, I really like cameras. We're advocating for New Jersey to bring that back. They did a pilot a few years ago, and the problem was that the ticket prices were very, very high. So I think the idea is we're going to try to advocate for it again as a pilot with a lower price ticket. But they're good because they're not racially profiling people. So they just pick that up and, but I think that was the issue, was that the ticket prices were very high. And so one of the legislators felt that, it was too high for some of the different residents. Yeah.
Why didn't they just lower the ticket prices?
Trust me, there's a lot of us who are traffic safety advocates that are like, yeah, I agree. So I want to let you guys go to vote the things. And do we make another thing with the stop signs? And let's make one for cameras. We'll rip a piece of paper off and cut it in half. One can be stop signs and the other one can be cameras, because I like that. And we are part of a camera working group. If we can get some data and you guys support it, we will take that there to them. Because other countries have these cameras everywhere. They're on their cars. They're on their corners, and they help with crime and all sorts of things. They're so good. It's automatic enforcement. Automated enforcement. Like, the police can use cameras, like, to see if people are, like, robbing. It's just like your doorbell cameras. It's not illegal. It's not supported right now in New Jersey by NJDOT.
There's different types of cameras. There's different types of cameras. What you're referring to, what there was a lot of, is an automatic plate reader, where you can get the plates coming out. There's another one that just surveils traffic. You can like look at a CCTV, which they only have 2 guys on the road and 1 inside. They don't have time to watch cameras all day. Then you have the other one, which is illegal, which is it says, oh, you're going 25, you set the 30, and it takes your picture like New York City. That's a revenue grab. That doesn't stop.
Yeah, that's why people didn't like it. They think it's a revenue grab.
It absolutely is. It's a revenue grab.
It's a revenue grab, but it could also be, if they're not high number tickets, it could actually help to prevent people from speeding.
It's just, it doesn't affect your insurance. It's just, it hits the RO of the vehicle. It doesn't even give the person who's driving the vehicle a ticket. It just gives the person who owns the vehicle a ticket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or rather, if you guys give a grant to the Oradell Police and have them have another officer on the road, and then they can do all these traffic enforcements that need.
So here's the thing. No, here's the thing. No town has enough police officers to place them at every single corner where every resident wants them.
Yeah, but if you look at the volume of traffic and the people in this town, there's only 2 people on the road, maybe 3. That's a very small proportion compared to other towns around Bergen County.
Well, they're here and they're listening, so.
I've taken a lot of notes. The ideas are great. I just got to work on a plan.
Yeah, we thank you guys for all your input. Please take the little dots and vote for the things that you think. No, it doesn't matter. We're just counting. I just made it fun with different colors. And put your sticky notes up too. Put your sticky notes up. Put your dots.
That's why you gotta add another traffic count. Oh, good luck. Ask for.
And just know that, we're taking your input. There's no guarantee of what will happen, but we're trying to just share ideas.
We need 5 more Sergeant Press workers.
Sticker things that you think will work.
Yeah.
Yourself back in the day.
Or they, yeah.
I'm in the office all the time and I can't get out.
No, I'm saying back in the day when you're on the road.
Yeah, that's the problem. I can't get on the road. Like every time it's another problem. It's another this, it's another problem.
It's good to
like I said, there's only 2 on the road, maybe 1 inside. Then you deal with all the other.
I only took 1 or 2 photos of the most.
Manpower problems now.
And then when you stop swimming in town, it's written warning.
Netherlands. I went to the Netherlands. I mean, I have been in Norway too, but Netherlands is where they really
I sat out there.
good.
One day, it was literally, I think I stopped 6 cars, 4 residents.
Yeah,
the one lady literally is one of the
like a protected bike lane. Yeah, ideal.
Resident, but you're like, I give a shit. I was like, but
after a certain point, I hope you put in the pad like freaking flyer.
Put that on the sticky and put it on there. Do you need more stickies? Arleo, do we have more sticky notes? Can we give them more sticky notes to?
It's happened.
Sticky notes.
It has happened.
On Oradell or on Grant?
For OPS?
Yeah.
Oh, right, because it's heading towards the school, right? Okay. Let me see if we got.
I had a mother block a driveway, tell me I will move my car when I'm done dropping.
Yes, Mike, will you close the meeting?
I don't know how kids.
Also, just say thank you very much for joining.
I was just like.
All right, those at home, thank you very much for tuning in. If you're still watching and you have any additional questions, or you'd like to offer feedback as well too, you can send me an email. My name is Mike Johnson, and my email is mjohnson@E as in Edward, Z as in zebra, RIDE. So that's mjohnson@easyride.org. So if you'd like to offer your own input, I can send you the questions, or you can just offer any input, send it my way, and it'd be really appreciate everything. So thank you very much for tuning in. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mike. The reason around and you see it around here, like, a lot of it is just
At the time, and I did notice driving up Soldier Hill Road that it did bump out further into the property. Like when you viewed the property, that's where it's located. That they did come in. They did pay for the permit, but they got a violation.